Welcome to the mind of Stony Face Entertainment. Okay, what's up, guys? Hope you're doing good. Let's take a look at Coming to America 2. I've Coming to America it's one of my favorite movies, if not my favorite movie. I've watched it since I was a kid countless times. Could probably throw it on now and laugh again, which is saying something because once I know a story, how a movie is gonna go, the plot, I usually there has to be a lot of time before I can watch it again and truly enjoy it. But Coming to America, I could probably watch it on a marathon, maybe like I could watch on a marathon like back to back. That's how much I love this movie, and I love the way it was written, beautifully written. There was a little bit of action sprinkled in there. Obviously, lots of comedy, lots of jokes. Like I love Coming to America. What can I say? I love Coming to America. All first mainstream all black cast. Well, besides from Louis Anderson, rest in peace. But like an all black cast, it, and it tells about Africa and not like degrading way. This movie was perfect all around for me. Well, I mean to me. So I love the way the first movie ended, and I always felt like there could have been more. Like I can't wait for a sequel. Like the story's so interesting. I want to see how the moon that is and everything. So cut to recent times where Coming to America was announced. Let's say like 2019. Let's say around 2019. So I was so excited for for a sequel, but I was worried with so much time passing on, so much changes within. Like let's say it came out 21, the other movie came out 89, so that's 22 years. No, 32 years. Wow, 32 years. Like so much can change, and the humor might not translate as much. Like just like after a certain amount of time, it becomes risky doing the sequel. So I was really kind of hesitant on this one. As much as I wanted a sequel, I was on the fence with this one. So once what really like I'm gonna cut straight to the point. I this for my rating for this movie, I'm going unlikely to recommend. So the ratings from very unlikely, unlikely, likely, very likely. I'm unlikely to recommend this. And let me tell you why. The moment I heard the plot line for this, like when it was first being rumored that they were bringing it back, I was already turned off by it. Hakeem having a son not from his wife, especially considering how romantic the first movie was. At least his intentions were like it felt out of character from the beginning. It felt like something Hakeem wouldn't do, especially the lengths he went in the first movie. Like something, it'd have to be a really good story to explain why he has another kid. So I was already turned out from the beginning, and the movie didn't do a good job on winning me over. It had, as much as I wanted to hate it as I was watching it, there were funny moments in it. I'll give it credit. Some few, there's some good laughs that can be found here. But I feel like overall they fell short. I feel like there's another direction you could have taken if you wanted to go this route, which I'll leave for my spoiler section. But to me, Coming to America 2 was basically like Force Awakens it for Star Wars fans or people who follow Star Wars, whatever, what may have you. So it's like just rehashing of the story, not even improving the rehash, just being like light. It's just like a reshoot basically, but 30 years later, like a remake. It wasn't interesting, but I say unlikely and not very unlikely because it could have been worse, honestly. Like it was still like watchable. Yeah, it was tolerable. It was manageable. So it's not very unlikely because it could have been worse. But then again, it followed the first movie's plotline, like Force Awakens. So I gotta give it unlikely to recommend. So I will go into the spoiler section, and I want to get your feedback after that because there might be some spoilers in the comments. But yeah, let's get to the spoilers.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. The following segments contain spoilers. The opinions expressed are that of the commenter. Please feel free to have your own opinions and share and discuss them in the comment section.
So spoiler talk. Let's get into it. So this section of the video is they brought us to a screening of Coming to America. The viewing we saw was just something they brought us in to an audience test audience to give them feedback for reshoots. So for any suggestions we make at the end is let's try to make minor major changes like no casting cuts and things like that because they're trying to save money. So try to see if you can work with most of what they did so they can reshoot it and at a like kind of a reasonable pace if possible. Uh, yeah, so that's the idea of this section of the show. Okay, so let's get into the feedback. Okay, so I have a score table here. You'll see in the intro video. We talk about story. I talk about director, cinematography, editor, production, music score, sound design, acting, and then get my total score. So I'm not good at scoring. I'm gonna be strict with you. So these scores are like whose line is it anyways? The points don't matter. Like some things in life it doesn't matter, right? So I'm just gonna give the score. It might not reflect my end recommendation, but that's how we're doing things right now. So let's roll with it. All right. So story trash. Again, it was a rehash of it was a rehash of Coming to America, the first one. So there's not much you can do with it. But at least in the first one, as someone, as I think my brother brought to my attention, one of my brothers, like the motivation for Hakeem in the first one, the story was went through his motivation. In this movie, it feels like Hakeem's son, Lavelle Johnson, Hakeem's son, his motivation is kind of pushed on him, like from whether it be from his besides from like him being like a hustler to kind of make it through his situation, the finances. From once he finds out Hakeem is his father, his motivation seems to be pushed on him. Like first, like he's unsure, then his mom is like, "Oh yeah, take it, do it." Then he goes there, then he's kind of being pressured by his whole support system, family, to like try to become the king. Then near the end, uh, the makeup artist or the hairdresser or the barber, she's the one who puts the ideas and said, "Oh, we can do this, we can do." So it's not even motivated by him. He's just a sheep, a dog following everybody around. Like there's no motivation, authentic motivation for him to do all of this, and and it's just it could have been done better. It just felt like it was disappointing. It went from like a fairy tale to like, for lack of a better term, like a hood classic. Like go straight to DVDs, like called the I'm the plug, kind of like Master P kind of thing. Like the other ones felt like like a fairy tale, like a story, like something grand. This one just felt like, oh yeah, I'm doing this thing. Oh, remember I did this thing. Like Hakeem wearing his New York outfit. So he just has that on him at all times to be wearing that when he went to go pick up his son. He has that just with him everywhere, and it's just it was such a force inclusion, nostalgic inclusion to have him wear that. Like it wasn't organic. It was just like, oh wait, let me do this. Oh, remember this, and and also what do you call it? The process of him finding out it was the son, that's gonna rush because both sides didn't fully look into it. They just accepted it as fact. Like what if it wasn't true? Like I know the voodoo doctor told Akeem and Lavelle's family did, the Johnsons probably, yeah, Johnsons obviously uh want the money, so they're going to go with them, but like so no one did a DNA test for this royalty, and also he hasn't heard of. Look, I guess he probably would have been able to hear of Prince Akeem because it was so long ago. It's not something you research all the time. But maybe he might have heard of him because he was in New York and the whole history. But that's beside this point. And there were some things that could have been cut out. story wise. Like, and this kind of goes into the story integration part of the review. But like I always say, the story element is basically one category together. So like, so the cameos were unnecessary. Rick Ross's cameo, the child soldiers is kind of like a old kind of joke, and I don't. I guess you can let it slide, but again, like some of these cameos didn't add anything, but just hey, we have these popular celebrities in our movie. Like those cameos could have been cut out, and the movie will still be the same. It might even be better because it was less time you spent watching it. So I feel like the cameos were unnecessary, over the top, but also the way uh, Akeem was acting was super suspicious, and nobody picked up on it. Like it was over the top suspicious, and nobody picked up on it. That was a problem. Like, oh, what are you doing here? I didn't know you were. It was pretty obvious from the get go, but somehow the characters who seemed super smart were completely oblivious to that odd behavior and didn't investigate it. For let's see, story, screenplay, inventive, fresh, masterfully woven. I'd say it isn't really distinct or compelling. In the story integration, like how does everything weave together? Are the story arcs addressed and completed? I'm gonna give this 6. Okay, so and also major problem with this movie. They hard R like they hard R Akeem in this movie. Like this very till cinematic masterpiece of a movie decides to continue this story 32 years later. And the major plot device they decide to use, I think, is funny. It's like 70s, 80s humor, hard R. Like, that's messed up, man. Like, that alone pissed me off. Like, the graphics were great. I don't know if graphics on this. Look, I'll leave that for graphics, but like, that was disgusting to me. Like, that was disappointing. That 70s, 80s type of humor. But I'm gonna move past that. But some of the storyline things I did like the arcs, where the wife and Lavelle's mom becoming friends, coming from the same area. That was a nice touch. I mean, that was just. I wish she had more in it. The his wife, but uh, yeah, that was a cool story arc. Uh, like I said, Lavelle just follows whatever anyone else uh, who has a say in his life wants him to do. So his story arc is whatever they want it to be. Mm, the story arc I enjoyed the most, and wish was the highlight of it, was his daughters. Because to me, they were best characters in this. I would have loved to see them more. But the arc that was probably the best was the person who had the best arc besides the daughter, Akeem's daughter, was King Joffrey. I loved everything they did in the funeral and everything, and his jokes. It was masterfully done. It was masterfully done. I like how they paid homage to his Akeem's mom. That was dope, who passed away in real life. So rest in peace to her too. So for the story integration, I'm gonna give this a 5 because it did complete most of the storyline. So I'll let that one slide. Okay, so the director, I felt like the director, uh, the style wasn't really new. But you know what? I guess the story was kind of told in a pretty unifying fashion. I'll give the director a 7. I'm giving the director a 7 because who directed this? I'll give director a 7 because I feel there were some parts of the acting performance, especially in the first half of the movie, where I'll get into the acting, that he could have brought Well, I mean, I don't know if he did, but you can tell the acting kind of got better later in the movie with some characters, but it was mostly cohesive. There were some choppy elements in the editing, so I'll leave that there. But he's director of the day; most of it falls on his head. But I'd say for what he had to work with, it was pretty solid. The cinematography. So the CG, they didn't rely on CG too much, so that was pretty smart. It was pretty visually stunning for the elements they showed. Obviously, the only CG part was the McDowell's. That part was kind of clearly CG, but again, not much. When there was it visually stunning, it was okay. It, it was okay. I'd probably give this one an 8. Okay, the editor. So the editor, that category has rhythmic, moving, engaging arrangements of pictures and sounds. So I feel like the sounds were pretty good. I really loved the soundtrack. Uh, I thought they did a good job with that. But I felt like there were some scenes, especially the scene where Akeem is running to stop Lavelle's wedding, where the editing there was clearly off. Like you could see they replayed the clip of him starting his run 2 3 times. It was pretty noticeable, and that's something I still remember. I the editing could have been better. It was pretty solid for the most part. Like I said, I loved the music this element of this, so I'm gonna give the editor. Mm, I'll give the editor a 8. All right, costume design. I love the costume design. They did a really good job with the costumes. Probably the best department of all of these. Super dope. Actually, type of music was super dope. The only mistake I saw was in the final scene with Wesley Snipes' character, where his nation's flag was upside down. So maybe the continuity person missed that, but that was upside down. But besides from that, they're pretty solid. So I'm gonna give them a 9. 9. Also, I'm gonna kind of fault them a bit for the Akeem New York stuff, so I'm gonna just leave it at 9, so for 9.5. The music, it was perfectly complements the story and overall message. You know what? I'd say it did. I loved the music. That was my favorite, one of my favorite elements of this. Okay, so the sound designs. You know what? I didn't notice any problems with the sounds, honestly. So, I mean, that alone is kind of a good sign for the most part. So, it probably seamlessly fit in with the flick. So, I'll give that one a 10. Why not? Mm, so, the acting. So, I feel like all the actors did a pretty good job. My problem was the first half of the movie. I felt like Eddie wasn't breaking it. I don't know if maybe it was nerves or something like that, but the first half of the movie, I felt like his acting wasn't up to par with everyone else. I felt like he was kind of holding the movie back, which is unfortunate. But I was happy that near in the second half of the movie, his acting picked up. It was pretty solid. So he did make some improvements on that, and but that first half, to me, it was noticeable that his acting wasn't up to par with everyone else's. And was everyone else basically came up to par. Leslie Jones played Leslie Jones, but I guess it fit her character. They wrote her in as that. So I'll give this one like. Okay, so the first half of the movie was kind of was mostly just a king. Also, Witch Doctor wasn't feeling her, but it gets a comedy. They're trying to go over the top. I'll give the acting. Oh yeah, he wasn't believable. That's what it says here. Acting is relational dynamics are strong and believable. Actors are apt to reach our center of caring for them. So I'll give this just because it was Eddie and he kind of came back from it. I'm gonna give this an 8. Okay. Also, that Tiana scene was dope. It was really sharp. I watched that so many times. It was dope. You can kind of see the lip sync was kind of off there at the start, but it was for a first time watch. You don't notice it, so it was pretty good. All right, okay, let's add it up. Grand total. The story leaves like 30% of the grade, so it's understandable. But yeah, okay, it's 81 to. Again, like I said, the non-spoilery part, I still am unlikely to recommend it. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on the movie, your breakdown. If you need help, there's a guide here. Hear your feedback and also your um, suggested reshoots. So this is what I would do. This is what I'm suggesting for my reshoot. So okay, so the idea for a reshoot, no major changes. If we're trying not to make any major changes, something workable that they can reshoot and repackage what they show us. So what I have is I really love Eddie's family. I wish we got to see more of his family, especially his wife and his daughters. I wish we got more of them. To me, they're the best things about this movie. So I wish if we had to keep everything the same, what would have made a better movie is if the son was Semi's son. Because Semi was sleeping around town while Eddie was trying to find his Miss Right. So it would have made more sense that the son was Semi's son. And, and what if Semi's son was just as greedy or a hustler or kind of like someone trying to rise the ranks like his dad, maybe even more than him. Like how he is on in the movie, and he's and selfish. So like maybe he thinks like, oh, Dad, you should be the king, not the king. You should be the king, and then him and his family try to help, like maybe overthrow a king or make a king think, give himself doubt and let Semi become the king, or he maneuvers so that he can take over the throne to become king. So it still kind of follows the storylines in the movie, but the motivation makes more sense and it's more driven by him. Because maybe he thinks his dad could be a better king. Yeah, so then what if that happens? So at first you kind of the movie opens, you see most of the stuff I guess that we saw, like Akeem being a father, having his daughters kind of feeling bad about not having a son because traditionally the son takes over. So his daughter could still have her storyline, trying to convince her dad that he needs to change the rules and she can become queen. So that storyline stays intact too. And then, so as it's all going on, then the voodoo doctor, hopefully someone else, because wasn't feeling the voodoo doctor, uh, lets him know that the kid is out there. The kid finds out he's Semi's son. They starts him and the family try to maneuver for him or Semi to become the king, so that he could eventually take over the throne or whatever, or his lineage could go on. So it fits well with also Semi's character and his motivations, and then maybe near the end they come to the same conclusion that everyone figures out, okay, Eddie's eldest daughter is the right person to lead this nation, and they squash. And if you have to leave the Wesley Snipes character in, they figure all of that out too, as they did in the movie. But if you don't, then you can spend more time with the family and the dynamics and whatnot. Actually, no, maybe they team up with Wesley Snipes to try to put force Akeem's hand. That would have been more interesting. And then maybe the daughter takes a more leadership role and it shows her dad she's capable of capable of outsmarting the other dictator. Like that also would have been pretty dope too. Again, remove all the unnecessary cameos, save money on cameo fees, and save time on the movie. And then yeah, at the end, everyone realizes the eldest daughter is the right one to become the queen. He doesn't need to have a son. And yeah, or maybe they could even one of the schemes could be Lavelle pretending to be a king's son or something like that. But yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this earlier, but the CGI for their younger scenes at the bar, that was pretty dope. Like you could hardly tell their age. Like if it was CGI or makeup, bravo to them. That was fire. Okay, so that's my recommendation. Let the son be Sammy's, try to fight for a throne, realize daughters, the true leader. She also solves the country's wars and stuff, and no hard R. And yeah, I think you have a pretty solid movie there. So let me know what you think in the comments, and yeah, thanks for watching. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace and out.